everyone, Eileen Bayer, the fam here. Welcome to my second video on autism. Today we're going to go over the signs and symptoms of autism. But before we do, I want to recap what we did yesterday and then dive right into it. Okay, so saying that, let's get started. Now, yesterday when we went over autism, we just briefly discussed when you could notice your child having it, which was when they were between the ages of 18 months to a couple of years old. Also, we discussed that autism is found more in boys than it is in girls. There's a very wide spectrum of autism. Not everybody's going to have the same symptoms of it. There are common symptoms which we will be going over, but there's so much in that spectrum where they have a low range, where a low range autistic person that needs help constantly throughout their life. Then there's a middle range where they don't need as much, but they still do need help. And then you have your high functioning autistic people that can do very well on their own with very little to no help. Okay. Today, like I said, we're going to go over the signs and symptoms. As you see on my screen behind me, some of them are sensory sensitivities, like heat, light, touch, speech, smell, speaking, pattern, all of this. But keep in mind, a low-functioning autistic person may have all of these. They may not. A mid-functioning autistic person may have some of them, and a high-functioning may only have maybe one or two, or none at all of these. Okay, so we're going to start with going over the signs and symptoms of it. People with autism may have difficulties with relationships, social interactions, including having trouble making eye contact. Now, before I go any further, I want to make this point clear. There's a lot of people that may misunderstand this as an adult, because we were always taught that if a child does not look at you in the eyes, that normally means they're lying. You cannot always go by what the book says, because there are so many other problems now that weren't around a long time ago. So that is not always the case. Like I said, an autistic child may have a problem with eye-to-eye contact with you, but it doesn't mean that they're lying. So please remember that when you come across somebody, don't always judge because if they're not making eye contact with you. Okay, they may have problem with their body language expressing themselves. They may have lack of empathy, and lack of interest in the same hobbies as their peers. They may also experience a lot of struggles with their verbal and nonverbal communications. As I said, my son, who is an adult now, he was not able to speak or actually function the way a normal child would until he was like 6. That's when he started learning how to talk, where a normal child normally picks up how to talk between 1.5 to 2 years old. Then they start getting little words. My son is not really a low functioning autistic person. He's not mid-function, he's between the middle function and the low. He does need help, but there's a lot of things that he can do on his own. The studies have found that 40% of people with autism never speak. Now, that's not always true. Like I said, a lot of autistic people will learn how to speak. A very low functioning autistic child may not. But some of them will. My granddaughter can speak very well. My son speaks very well. But you can tell by their speech that they're autistic. Okay? Some of the other signs and systems dealing with autism will include focus on certain pieces instead of the whole pie. In other words, like my son with baseball cards, he was fixated like on like the batting average and not about the player itself. They remember certain things, and their mind fixates on that. Also, they have problems with occupation, with specific topics, routines, and stereotype behaviors. Now, as to what causes autism, there isn't enough evidence to determine exactly what causes it. But studies have shown two factors that contribute to autism, which is one is genetic and the other is environmental. There is not one gene in our genomes that causes autism. So, you can't say about genetically, well, maybe if we knew what gene it was, there's not one gene that comes up. And, however, though, autism is known to run in families, which enforces the idea that it is a genetic disorder. Now, I don't know if I can believe in that totally. I might. I have an older brother that was really slow and he was sensitive emotionally and stuff. He was never, you have to remember back, our parents were not like we are. A lot of this was not known back then. So, as far as we know, my older brother may have autism. And we just never knew it. I was not diagnosed with autism, but I did have a problem with speech growing up. I had a problem with, what I mean with my speech, I could talk, but growing up, I could not say my S's right, or my thus. My S's sounded like a word with th in it. It would be like speech would be speech. I couldn't pronounce my words correctly. When I went to school, they associated all of my learning disabilities with my eyesight. So, we never really know. But getting on, so you have an idea with that. Autism tends to transpire more often among people diagnosed with medical conditions such as, I'm going to have a hard time, I'm probably going to butcher this word, but untreated panicuria. I'm just going to do the abbreviation for it that they have. The medical abbreviation is PKU. Tuberous sclerosis, Fragile X syndrome, and congenital rubella syndrome. Now, none of this, I mean, I know a lot of people that have autistic kids, and I've never heard of any of them having any of this background, but this is what the medical books are saying about it. Many environmental factors have been considered to be linked to autism during prenatal life, like bacterial and viral infections in the mother during pregnancy have been found to increase risk of autism in their offspring, vaguely. And well, like I said, I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't know. As far as myself, I did have a few infections when I was pregnant. Other contributing factors associated with autism include the mother having a folic acid deficiency during conception, gestational diabetes, and the use of certain antidepressants. Those are some other contributing factors, but not enough evidence to say that is the actual cause. However, not enough substantial evidence has been found to support these connections to autism. So you see, these are just kind of speculations that the medical field has yet. They actually have no concrete evidence or ideas on what actually causes autism. It's just, sometimes happens, and they just have not pinpointed what causes it yet. There was a thing that vaccinations had been a contributing factor to autism, but the CDC debunked that back in 2013, and I can understand why, because if vaccinations had something to do with autism, then every child that was vaccinated would have had it. There's just so many beliefs on what causes it, but the truth is, we don't know what causes autism yet. That has not been known yet. So, and it doesn't matter to me if a child or a person has autism. They're still a human being. They still deserve respect and love and the same treatment that you would give to anybody else that does not have autism. Tomorrow we were going to go a little bit deeper into this, but this is what we wanted to cover today. And again, I want to remind everybody, do not judge somebody. As the old saying goes, do not judge a book by the cover. No matter whether the person is suffering from depression, anxiety, loneliness, any other type of mental illness like autism or anything else, they deserve the same respect that you and I do. They need the same love. They bleed the same blood. They're human beings just like us. They need to be lifted up and comforted just like we do. Don't shut them aside because they're not perfect. I went through something that myself, dealing with two of my other sons. They're not autistic, but they are mentally handicapped as well. They've been given up for adoption, but I am in contact with them and I talk to them regularly, have been up there to visit them. And when I did, they live with their cousin. Now, their cousin has not dealt with anybody with any type of disabilities, and when I was there, I got kind of hurt and offended when she says, "You sure you still want to see your sons, knowing, now that you see them and knowing what you know about them?" And to me, that hurt, because yes, they have mental disabilities. Yes, they have problems, but we all do, whether it's mental or physical. Nobody on this earth is perfect. in any shape, form, way, or matter. None of us are. And I don't see why anybody should judge anybody because of that. I've seen so many kids neglected by their own fathers or whatever because they're not, quote, perfect in their eyes. They have a physical or a mental problem. That's so wrong. God's the only one that has the right to take a life. I was not put on this earth to judge another human being. I was put on this earth to uplift, encourage, inspire, love, because we all were made to love one another. People weren't made to be by themselves and be unhappy. That's why when we're lonely or we suffer loneliness, why we don't feel right, because that's not the way we were built. We were not made for that. We were made to love one another. That's the way our Creator made us. Like that song from Barbara Streisand, people need people. You know, and that's why AT&T had their logo, reach out and touch someone. So, you know, I want to just let you know, from my heart to yours, every one of you out there matter to me. You're all uniquely made. You're all beautiful in your own way. Because we're all unique and beautiful people. And every life on this planet matters. Doesn't matter the color, race, creed, whether you're disabled physically, mentally, if you're not. We all matter. And you out there are important to me. That's right, I'm talking to you. You're important to me. You matter to me. So please, everybody, remember this. Instead of seeing with these eyes, see with the heart, not the eyes. See, a heart goes deep. The eyes only sees the surface, but the heart goes deep, and I mean deep. And if you see inward instead of outward, your life's going to be a lot happier. So remember, until tomorrow, you matter, you're one of a kind, you're important to me, and I love you. Mwah. Bye. See you later.